Okay, I'd like to open a conversation on mistakes. So this is part of this project I'm working on. Is the PHI tutorial is the project working title. And so the first part was taking responsibility, and second part about blame. And the short form of that is that in order to get to take responsibility for something so that you can fix it, you have to take the blame, basically. So the quick example is you're in an abusive relationship with a friend. You have a friend that's abusing you. You can view uh, the blame as lying on them, but then they get the responsibility. The blame is on them. They have an anger management problem. They have the responsibility of fixing that. Or you can blame yourself. Why are you friends with that person? In which case, it's a different problem with the solution that you can solve. Okay. Okay. So we're looking to be able to take responsibility so that we can solve things. To do that, we have to be able to blame ourselves. Sometimes we can, and sometimes we can't do that. Okay, but this video is about mistakes. I just want to talk about mistakes, and I want to talk about mistakes that we've all made together, social mistakes. So, for example, maybe the most accessible one is we used to think the world was flat. We used to think the world was flat and that the sun went around the earth. And that's an interesting mistake. I mean, uh, we still talk about sunrise and sunset. We still talk about it. But we realized that to think it was rising was a mistake. And that's the interesting thing. So just realizing we were making a mistake was enough. We didn't have to change how we were talking in order to change how we were thinking. In some areas we do change how we're talking if we're going to plan a flight to the moon. But then again, we weren't talking much about that before anyway. So it gave us ways to talk about those things. But just realizing that you made a mistake is sometimes enough of the solution. You know, because when you're in the middle of making a mistake, you don't know there's a mistake. There's no mention of a mistake. The word mistake doesn't come up. And in fact, there is an occurrence that leads to something you don't like, but it's not really a mistake in nature. It's just a mistake once you identify it. The mistake is a mental thing that you identify a situation. And so once you've identified a mistake, that really is most of the solution right there. And sometimes you don't even have to change too much about your behavior to go ahead and take it into account. I think another interesting mistake um, is Aristotle. Aristotle had us all believing, because he told us and we just believed it without checking for thousands of years, that heavier objects fall faster than lighter objects. Now, there's a mistake. It was just wrong. Yeah, you have to change the way you talk. You can't say they fall faster. You can maybe get a similar idea, right? Because heavier objects fall harder, but they just don't fall faster. But they do fall harder. They will bang your foot more. It's more dangerous. The same kind of urgency that maybe thinking was faster made you think of is there's a grain of truth there, right? They fall harder. They're heavier. They're more likely to fall because they're harder to hold up, right? So that was an interesting mistake because, okay, why did we think that? Well, because Aristotle just wrote down a bunch of shit. He thought it's common knowledge. He didn't have to check it. Why check? Everybody knows. So why check? And the amazing thing is, fine, he was a busy guy. He didn't have time to check. But somebody you'd think would have checked, in a couple thousand years it took, sooner. But, but no. So that's an interesting mistake there because a lot of people it's easy to get people to make this mistake. You can go ask high school students or you can ask adults too, but the adults that would make this mistake probably have given up talking about things like this altogether. But this is a mistake people still make. Our intuition tells us it should fall faster in some sense. If you ask somebody who hasn't already been told. So really this is a mistake we made. And same with the flat earth. I mean, if you never made the mistake of saying, oh, the earth is flat, it's probably because before you were ever asked, you got told the answer. If you were just asked from your intuition and you didn't have this extra knowledge of people feeding you perceptions that they've had, information about perceptions they've had that have proven it, and giving you images to show you, but you just had your regular everyday experience. The Earth being flat makes a lot of sense too, and that's why we still talk about the sun rising, because frankly, from us, from our day-to-day, it's more of a flat thing than a round thing. In the terms of that being more perceptible, right, more immediately perceptible, it's more subtle to think that it's round. Is it more subtle to think that a light object will fall the same speed? I don't know. It's a funny thing. I really think they should have checked, but I am sympathetic to the fact they didn't have that kind of epistemology. There's a lot of things to get around to, but, well, the skeptics would have known we should check. It's that thing of thinking that it's possible to get perfect knowledge leads people to think that we already have it, and something they were told happens to be perfect knowledge. And they think, oh, it's hard to get, so of course it's from people that were alive before me, figured out, and told, and then they just don't check for 2,000 years. Okay, another mistake. Another mistake. Is this a mistake? Newton's laws. Did Newton say that those were the complete laws? Not sure, but I know a lot of other people did, and they held sway for a very long time by modern scientific standards. And it took us a long time to find the missing parts. They were incomplete. But would you say they were a mistake? Because they're true as far as they go. They're just incomplete. So there's edges where it fails to be a good approximation. Mostly it's an excellent approximation. But it's missing a term. It's incomplete. And this is different. This is different from saying, oh, the Earth's in the middle. No, we're wrong. The sun's in the middle, but relativity speaking, it still looks like the sun rises. This is different from saying, oh, heavier objects fall faster. Oh, oops, no, they don't. I was just wrong. Okay. This is like, yeah, F equals ma still, but there's another plus another little bit there that's usually quite mostly zero, but is important when it's not. This is the kind of mistake that we're going to be going for. Incompleteness. Incompleteness is better than just misdirective error. Okay. It's better to have an incomplete theory of gravitation. It's better to not know if the heavier object falls faster than it is to think you know and be wrong. Because if you just have an incomplete theory, then at least it's not leading you wrong. Now you can call it wrong because you're lacking information you really want or should in some sense have, and you can go wrong. But you're gonna go less far wrong, right, than if you actually have a proactive theory that pushes you in the wrong direction. With an incomplete theory, you won't be moving as fast on a correct path. Okay. And you'll have to look for this completeness if you know that it's complete, or that it's incomplete. Which I do, because as a skeptic, I always believe knowledge is incomplete. It'll always be incomplete. That's fine. You just compare. You don't ever try to find the fountain of youth. You just try to find that fountain of longer lifespan. So these are the kinds of errors we want to have. We don't want to be as dogmatic about it as a lot of the defenders of Newton's laws were in the end. Okay. But we do want to do the thing where we have a theory that is incomplete and we can add another term. So that when your new theory is compatible with the old, it's sort of backwards compatible. Relativity is backward compatible with Newtonian physics. Quantum mechanics, backward compatible with Newtonian physics. The problem is that those things aren't cross-compatible with each other. Okay. Now, these are all mistakes we've made. And once you know there's a mistake, you really have the main epistemological part of the solution, because you can stop doing that. Doctor, it hurts when I smash my foot. You can stop doing that. Okay. You figure out you're building buildings that are not safe. The earthquakes keep knocking them down. Okay, you could stop building buildings, fine, but you still need buildings. So, you need to figure out a better way to build buildings, or you'll go back to building them to crap.